Hello, happy Saturday evening. My name is Janelle Montgomery, and we're going over the 7 steps on how to stop the financial bleeding. However, I will resume that series on Monday because Saturday and Sunday I like to kind of be a little bit more free. So that is the plan for sure. So if you're on here, say hello, say hi. And what I want to talk about today is managing crisis, right? Overcoming crisis. And this is going to be from the book. Let me go ahead and pull it out. Overcoming Crisis by Myles Munroe. So I remember picking up this book when it first came out, and I read it. I read it in a few hours. I can name a few books that I picked up and I did not put down, and I read it at least in one day. So this book, Managing Overcoming Crisis, is really really good. And so it's been an honor because to meet this man while he's alive was just definitely a blessing. And so I am really excited to share some of the things that I got from this book. Of course, it's going to be abbreviated, and I am going to take some of the concepts that I've learned, but I wanted to make sure that I cite the source. Yes, one of the greatest books written. That is so true, because if you are going through any type of change, any major change, anything that seems to make you feel overwhelmed, this is the book to get, because this is really a great guide. And of course, you rely on the Bible. Um, and as far as someone who um, uses principles from the Bible on how to overcome crisis, this is like the top. So if you are going through anything as far as it doesn't have to be anything big, and we're going to talk about that, right? You want to go ahead and get this book because it's really great. It is really great. So let's hop right into it, right? So managing crisis, right, is really interesting, because crisis, the way that Myles Munroe was defining crisis, is whenever there's an event over which you have no control. So it's an event, it's a change that takes place. And I know when people think of global crisis, right, we think of something that's major, that's something that's big, right? But there's some things that we have that involve a personal crisis, because it's something that we have no control over, right? Whenever a job may lay you off, or if something catastrophic happens, right? The main thing that comes to my mind when I thought of crisis is whenever there were major weather events, severe weather events that really cause crisis in a town. But when you think about it personally, things like major changes um, in your life can create a crisis, right? And so we want to know, how do we manage the crisis? How do we effectively manage change? And so some of the things that, just hopping right into it, just know that when there's change, right, know that in your life that there will always be change. Like, one thing that won't change is the fact that there will always be change. There will always be change within your life, seasons in your life. And even if you look at the weather, except for if you're in a place to where it's always sunny or warm. But I know in Oklahoma, we have to brace for the changes within the weather and the changes within the seasons. And when we do that, we're able to know that nothing is permanent. Nothing will not change, right? So there will always be change. And so there's a quote that I remember, and I should have asked my husband about this quote. But when a moment comes, right? When a moment comes, I'm probably gonna jack this quote all up, right? But when a moment comes, it says that like changes the trajectory, right? When a moment of transition comes, either The moment defines you, or you define the moments, right? So again, I'm going to say that again. When a moment comes, right? The moment defines you, or you define the moment. And so what that means is that if something were to happen, something bad were to happen, or a change, right? Sometimes crisis can be something good, right? Meaning, let's just say, tomorrow, like, I had $10 million, right? That is, what's crazy is that that's going to be a crisis. So you got to think about, like, crisis is just like a major change. It is a major change in your life, and so, speaking of which, of a moment that comes, either that can define you and who you are, or you can turn around and define what that moment will be to you. So that's very important, because it comes to a point to where you have to, really look at the way you perceive the issue, the way you perceive the thing that's come upon you, right? Because if something, let's just say, got laid off or lost my job, right? So if I lost my job, the way I perceive that moment is going to determine how that moment defines me, right? Oh no, what am I going to do? I'm in despair. What's happening in my life, right? Will I let that moment define me and society and everything that they say about that moment? Or will I define the moment? What does that mean if something like that were to happen? I define the moment by saying, okay, this is an opportunity for me to be deployed. This is an opportunity. Yes, you can get fired from your job, but they can't fire you from your work, right? So you have to look at how you perceive the things. So this is a quote that's in this book that he got from Susan Taylor that says, seeds of faith are always within us. Seeds of faith are always within us. Sometimes it takes a crisis to nourish and encourage their growth. And so sometimes when things are the same, when we're just going through the motions, right? We're just going through the notions of life. The same thing. It's almost like Groundhog Day, living the same year after year for 20 years or 10 years. And then life happens, or something happens, a moment happens, like a defining moment happens. And so the thing is that when seeds of faith be activated within those moments, seeds of faith can be activated, right? And so crisis always forces development. This is direct quote. Crisis always forces development. It creates opportunity for creativity. So the thing is, also, this is a quote, you have to invent new ways to deal with old problems. So for instance, an old problem is maybe we have a mortgage payment or the bills paid. Okay, well, let's just say something happened with the job. Well, now I have to find a new way, invent a new way to deal with old problems. Because the thing is that the bills don't stop coming, right? The bills do not stop coming. That's still an old problem, but you're able to invent new ways and say, okay, well, what are some other ways that resources can come? Yesterday, I did talk about the different ways of where you want to actually put your money, right? Into investments, into assets, into, there was debt and there was expenses. And so we did talk about that yesterday, but crisis will invent new ways for you to deal with old problems. Also, know that in helping to overcome crisis is to understand that nothing is permanent except for God, right? Everything is like going to change. Everything is going to change except for God. And understanding that he is the anchor, he is the one that will keep you grounded. And so that's why in Psalms 1 it says, um you'll be a tree, like if you hang on to him, you'll be a tree planted by the rivers of water whose leaves will not wither, and I will bear fruit in my season, right? And so to understand that if I stick with God, right? If I put my faith in God, I understand that He does not change in the midst of change. And so if I put my faith elsewhere, let's say if I put my faith in my job, then my job can change. If I put my faith in, the Bible says, horses and chariots and in sources, then it can always change. But when I put my faith in God, I understand that He does not change. Like He does not change. So that is a sure place on where to put your faith. And here's a key right here for those that are, oh, Kevin Costner. Okay, thank you. Thank you, hubby, for pointing that out. So, a key point is to understand that your current, okay, let me say this first. Never respond permanently to a temporary problem, meaning you don't want to make a permanent decision based on a temporary problem, right? Let's just say, oh no, it's over. Oh no, there's nothing I can do. Well, no, we have to understand that this is, sometimes seasons come and we have to understand how are we going to respond to that season. So when winter comes and spring's upon us, how are we going to change? If I was stuck in winter, and I kept on putting leather heavy coats on throughout summer and spring and fall, I'm responding permanently to a temporary problem. So let's just say, and this is Oklahoma weather, I really don't know what the weather's going to be like. So let's just say tomorrow it's freezing, it's snowing, it was like that. Like last week, I think last weekend we just dealt with this. It was rainy, it was cold, and let's just say I got my big coat out and I was like, "Ooh, it is so cold. I'm going to wear this coat." Okay? So then I got hurt, or let's just say I'm just like, "You know what? I'm just going to keep this coat on through the summer." It's going to be crazy because the thing is that was only a temporary situation. So understand the season that you're in. You guys may not be dealing with anything right now, but every season comes with its own problems, right? Every season comes with its own problems. So you have to adjust accordingly, right? We're not going to go in the summer. There's different problems in the summer, right, than there are in the winter. I need to put on more clothes, put on the hoodies, put on the heavy coats in the winter. But I don't want to wear the heavy coat in the summer because guess what? It's all temporary and I'm in a different season. I need to adjust accordingly. I need to wear loose clothing, right? Linens, things that make me cooler. And so the thing is that you have to understand what season that you are in. And if there's a change that happens within your life, understand how do you need to respond to that change. And so Oklahoma, I guess it really prepared me because it doesn't matter. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, right? So, but I always have to stay ready, right? I got my heavy coat, I got my t-shirt. So regardless, I'm ready for that problem. And then also know that your current circumstances does not reflect who you are or your identity, right? So just say, for instance, you're going through a financial hardship. Understand that doesn't reflect who you are, right? Sometimes again, there's seasons. And the thing is that it's a difference between really reflecting the truth and reflecting your circumstances, right? There's two things. You can be in a current circumstances, but it's very important that you continue to reflect the truth. What is the truth, right? Things may, sources may end, but you have to understand that you're connected to the source, and that is God. And so, um, understanding that, okay, maybe my source is dried up here, but that doesn't reflect who I am or my identity, because my identity is reflected in Christ because I'm anchored in Him, right? So if I'm reflected in a truth that God shall supply all of my need according to His riches and glory, I stand on that truth rather than, oh no, what's happening here, right? I'm helping somebody here. There's a reason why I'm using these examples going down this rabbit hole. So I'm helping someone, right? So I definitely believe that. So understand that your current circumstances do not reflect who you are. So you have to be careful what mirror you actually put in front of you. Don't have the mirror of insecurities, the mirror of judgment, right? You want to have the mirror of your destiny and who God called you to be, right? So you want to do that. Understand this, that there's normally growth in crisis, innovation in crisis, and maturity in crisis. So in moments of crisis or change, there's growth that takes place. And you have to make sure that you look at the opportunity to grow in these situations. Also, there's innovation, because the thing is it's almost I think about the book Who Moved My Cheese, right? That maybe the cheese was moved and I go to the same spot and maybe the cheese was moved. Well, I can go and say, oh no, that's the end of my cheese, there's no more cheese. Or I can think of new ways on how to get new cheese, or to find the cheese, or whatever that is. And so the thing is that sometimes, and my husband just said this the other day, that sometimes if you don't move on life, life will move on you. So, and hubby, you could tell me who you got that from, but that was so amazing. Sometimes when you don't move in life, life will move on you. So when life moves on you, understand that that is an opportunity of growth. That loss may be the loss that maybe you needed to lose that because there's something else for you to gain, that there is a greater gain on the other side. Also, there's innovation. Again, we talk about perception. Innovation is looking at an old problem in a new way. So, the job, for example, okay, maybe that was the way that I only knew how to make money. But now maybe God is causing me to look at business or investing or other ways, innovative ways that I can make money, right? That I can actually bring in resources, because maybe He needs me over here to solve a problem. And it's very important to be fruitful in these situations, understanding that um, they can't fire your work, they can't fire your gifting, they can't fire your talent, and know that um, God can cause you to look at circumstances in a new way. And then also you have maturity in crisis. Sometimes again, we talked about growth, but it causes you to have maturity in crisis. And the last thing I'm going to leave you is never surrender to your limitations. Never surrender to limitations. I think about the book Who Moved My Cheese, right? Because you used to go into a certain spot and maybe that spot isn't there. And I know that people, of course, we went through a major global crisis with COVID and everything like that, and it's still, you know, dealing with that, with those effects and the crisis and all of that. But understanding that no matter what is happening within your life, you don't want to surrender to limitations, because we don't serve a limited God. We serve an unlimited God. That you have to understand that everything that's around you um, has been created because He's limitless. If He was limited, listen, if you were hanging on to the source that's limited, you only get the extent of that source. So when that source dries up, you dry up, right? But I thank God, right, that I'm in a place to where I can be in a place to where I am connected to someone that is unlimited, right? And that is God, so that I can always see possibilities, that no matter what is comes my way, I could see possibilities. I could see new ways on how to approach old problems. Okay, right? How do I do that? And that was from Myles Munroe. Don't surrender to your limit. Don't surrender to limitations. Like, don't take that, right? Don't take that, because even in the Bible, it says, with God, all things are possible. So just know that um, no matter what is happening within your life, I pray that God gives you the strength, and he he won't deliver you from the season sometimes, but he'll stay with you through the season. He'll guide you through that season. He'll guide you through seasons of winter, seasons of spring, seasons of summer, seasons of fall, right? And all these things are just make up the components of life, because it shows that things change, but we serve a God that does not change, and he is an anchor no matter what situations we are put under, because it causes us to develop, it causes us to blossom and grow and flourish in ways that we never knew that we can ever flourish. So I hope that is encouraging to someone, to you out there that is listening to this, to say, okay, I know this season is temporary. God, how would you like for me to dress in this season? And not even physically, but spiritually. How does my mind have to be, right? And understanding, again, you don't want to wear the heavy coat in the summertime. So know that that if you're going through something, it's because there's something God wants to pull out of you and use, because there's something in you that he wants to pull out and use. So just wanted to encourage you. Happy Saturday. Again, I will continue with my How to Stop the Financial Bleeding on Monday. But weekends, I like to take a little bit of freedom. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate the comments. Jessica, thank you. Kelly, um, uh, Tori, hubby, you're so awesome. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a blessed night. And yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow, God willing. 90 days, we're pushing it out. God bless.